All right. Let's see. Welcome to week 8 of the 12-week series. A little giggly tonight. Welcome to the week 8 class. This was a restorative and yin class. It's going to be super low key. Nothing crazy. We're doing 5 poses tonight. Very slow. Just trying to kind of counteract anything that came up for anyone on Monday. And one thing I wanted to talk to everyone about this beginning of class, and the intention of tonight's class is some folks reached out and said that a couple things came up for them during the Sun Salutation. And one thing that I always offer is, like, how do you hold space for yourself in that sense? So as you go through tonight, just keep that in the back of your mind of, how do I hold space for myself in yoga in my everyday life? I'm going to make my way back to the mat. Tonight you'll need 2 blocks, a bolster, or 2 blocks or books, a bolster or pillows, and as many blankets as you want. And whatever gear that you use, just grab that. We'll probably be using it all tonight. I'm going to make my way back to the mat, and we'll get started on our backs in supported fish, which I will explain as I'm getting set up. So grabbing our bolster, we can lay the bolster at the top of the mat. Sitting down with our low back against the edge of either the bolster or the pillows. Before you lay down, have 2 blocks nearby in case you want the variation to go a little bit deeper into your practice. So starting off into the supported fish pose, we'll lengthen out the legs in front of us, finding a nice comfortable position for you. As we lay back into this pose, if you would also like to place a blanket over the top of you for warmth, that's like 5 degrees where I'm at. I always like to say, hey, keep the body warm as well when you're in these poses. So as we lay down, we can place the hands at the side and slowly walk our back down onto the bolster. The arms can come off to the side, resting the head down onto the bolster of the pillows. Feet can be lengthened. And a variation or an option to go deeper is a bound angle pose. So we can bring the feet, the soles of the feet together, and the knees are bent, and almost like a butterfly, right? And with those blocks, placing the blocks underneath the knees to give the knees support. Settling into this pose, starting at the crown of the head, maybe wiggling the head from side to side slowly. Adjusting the arms. Checking in with the shoulders. Just getting nice and comfortable. And as you settle into fish pose, bringing your awareness to the space that you are in, and noticing any noises that may arise for you during your practice. Maybe just smiling. Let out a little laugh, getting nice and cozy. And as you notice the space around you and notice the noises, and not naming those noises, just noticing that they're around you, making yourself aware of them so there's no surprises. You may hear noises on my end. I do have a dog who likes to come and hang out with me sometimes during my yoga practice. I'll bring the awareness to the breath now, noticing the natural rise and fall of the breath. Noticing as the breath travels up through the nose, as it fills the belly, expands into the ribs, all the way to the top of the chest. Just as slowly as you inhaled, slowly exhaled back through the nose, starting with the top of the chest, the ribs, and the belly. Take one full breath and meet me on the exhale. We'll inhale together deep through the nose, sigh it out through the mouth. And noticing in your body if there's anywhere that maybe you can relax just 10% more. Maybe it's the shoulders, maybe it's the arms, maybe it's the legs. Allowing yourself to just feel the full support of your gear supporting your body. I'll leave you in silence for the next few minutes as you rest into this pose. I'll bring you back when it's time to change pose. Coming back to the breath. Wiggling the fingers. Using the hands to assist the knees as we guide the knees back up towards the center of our body. With our feet flat on the floor. So staying in this fish pose, we'll walk our feet to the outside edges of our mat. And then we'll just allow the knees to drop in towards one another. Just taking a moment here. Slowly and gently using the arms. Placing the hands down to the floor to lift yourself up slowly. And we'll just drop our knees from side to side. And almost as windshield wiper. So imagining your body as a car, right? You got your windshield wipers at your legs. Just dropping them from side to side. Maybe keeping the eyes closed. We'll come onto our butts with our feet extended long. And here we're going to move into a forward fold. So grabbing our bolster and placing the bolster or pillows underneath the knees. And if you have tight low back like myself, you can always grab a blanket or another pillow, preferably a blanket. Just fold that blanket up, place it underneath the sit bones to kind of lift the tailbone up off the floor. But you're doing that. Just move very slowly. There's no rush. I'm not going anywhere. The practice won't end right now. So once you place that bolster underneath the knees, and if you're using a pillow or a blanket underneath the hips, you can bring the arms down to the side of the knees onto the bolster if you're using a bolster. We'll take a nice deep inhale through the nose, and as we exhale, we can slowly start to bend forward, leading with our chest, almost rounding out our back. So making any small movements, any small adjustments in this pose, dropping the shoulders away from the ears as you round forward. Still noticing the breath. Maybe on each exhale, noticing if you can release any tension in the body, go a little deeper. If you find yourself not breathing, you may have gone past that edge or gone too far. If this is too much on the upper back and you want to focus more on the hamstrings, you have an option to remove that bolster, and you can just do a forward fold, focusing more on the hamstrings, and you can bring that bolster onto the tops of the thighs and then fold forward from here. Whichever variation that you choose for yourself tonight, whatever area you would like to focus on. Taking full deep breaths, noticing any tension that you might be holding on to. finding one area in the body you can let go 10% more. And as you settle into your space, into your body, I'll leave you in silence for the next few minutes before I bring you back. slowly start to walk the hands back up the side of the body, using them to press yourself up out of this forward fold, slowly stacking the vertebrae back on top of one another, removing any gear either underneath the legs or on top of the legs off to the side. We'll roll onto our hands and knees. Coming into tabletop. With our hands underneath the shoulders and our knees underneath the hips. We'll inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, lift the tailbone, cow pose. Exhale, pull the belly in, round the back, chin to chest, pressing through the hands into cat. Let's go at your own pace here. Moving with the rhythm of the breath. Move into our next pose. So having that bolster nearby, maybe a blanket. We'll move the bolster out in front of us to the top of the mat. Not using it just yet. We'll slide our right knee behind the right wrist, and then we'll pull that right foot towards the left hand, right? Coming into this pigeon pose, extending through the left foot, left toes. From here, if you have any space in between the hips and the floor, I always offer to place a blanket underneath that hip for support. Restorative, again, we are bringing the ground up to us. And then having that bolster, and slide that bolster towards our bellies, either straight out in front of us, nice and straight, or it can come almost at an angle, like a 45-degree angle pointing towards the top left corner of your mat. Take a nice inhale here. As you exhale, slowly begin to walk the hands as you lower the belly and the chest down onto the mat, or the bolster, excuse me. And then placing the cheek, whichever side is more comfortable for you in this position. Noticing as you're settling in, if you're putting too much weight onto one side of the body, and seeing if you can evenly distribute that weight of the stretch of this pose. Taking this first minute to really find that comfortable position that works for you, making any small adjustments. And as I've said in all of the weeks that we've been together, if you're just tuning in, if you ever feel any tingling sensation, any numbness, and you start losing feeling, please come out of the pose. You can always come down into a child's pose as well. As you settle into your body, noticing if the shoulder blades are tense, seeing if you can relax just 10% more. And as you settle in, I'll leave you in silence for the next few minutes. And I'll bring you back to move into the other side. Slowly and gently. Let our hand we can press our bodies up and off the bolster or other gear that you may be using. Sliding if you're using a blanket underneath the right hip off to the side. Placing the wrist underneath the shoulders. Curling the left toes as you slide that right foot out from underneath the body. Placing that right knee back to meet the left. If you'd like a good counter pose, walk the finger or the hands a couple inches out in front of you. Curl the toes, press through the hands, lift the hips into a downward facing dog. And you can pedal the feet out here. So dropping one knee as you straighten out the other leg. Going very slowly. If you're in that down dog, you can drop the knees down to the mat. Move into that other side. So sliding the left knee towards the left wrist. And the left foot towards the right hand, sliding that right foot or right leg back. Grabbing a blanket, maybe placing a blanket underneath the left hip. While moving your bolster underneath the leg or underneath the body. As you slowly walk the hands out and lower yourself down onto your bolster or your other gear that you may be using. Taking this next minute to make any small adjustments for your body as you settle into the pose. And the cheek can rest either on the left or the right side of the bolster. And as you're settling into your body, noticing any tension that you may be holding either in the neck, the shoulders, the chest, the belly, the hips. And noticing if you can relax just 10% more somewhere in the body. Allowing yourself to feel that full support of whatever gear that you're using. And I'll remain silent for the next 3 minutes. Gently begin to slide the hands to the sides of the bolster, pressing yourself up, lifting the chest, moving any gear that you may be using off to the side. Placing those wrists underneath the shoulders. Curling the toes as you slide the left foot out from underneath the body. We'll slide the left knee back to meet the right. Here we'll go into a nice little counter stretch. So walking the hands out just a few inches. We'll curl the toes, press through the hands, lift the hips into that downward facing dog. Maybe walking the feet or pedaling the feet out. Lowering the knees back down to the mat. We'll stop for our next pose. So for this one, we'll need 2 blocks and your bolster or blankets and pillows. So setting up into this, what's called a twisted deer. So taking your 2 blocks and we'll space them out to layer a bolster down. So starting with the lowest, or with 1 block, we'll put it on the lowest setting so it's flat. And then about 6 or 7 inches behind that block, place the next one. And that one can go on a medium height. We can take our bolster, place the bolster down onto our blocks. And to start, we'll place our our left hip closest to the bolster, and we'll slide that left hip so it's nice and close. Our right knee is going to be parallel to the short edge of that back part of your mat. And our left leg, or our left shin, is going to be parallel to the long edge of our mat. So almost like a deer is laying down, or a doe. We'll take a nice deep inhale. As we exhale, we'll twist and lower our bodies down to our bolster or our pillows. Here, making any small adjustments you may need. We can place our left cheek down onto the bolster. We're not trying to place the right one. It's too far. Too much of a twist for our restorative practice. Taking a moment to just notice any tension anywhere in the body. Breathing deeply. Allowing yourself to relax into the bolster or the pillows and blankets. And I'll leave you here in silence for the next few minutes. Using the hands to slide, press yourself back up out of this pose. Slowly walking the hands up. We'll turn onto our butts. Their feet flat against the floor. Our low back against the bolster. And we'll just drop the knees from side to side in that windshield wiper. Setting up for the next side. We'll place our right hip up against the edge of that bolster with our right shin parallel with the long edge of our mat, so the long side. Our left leg, placing it in that deer shape again, so our shin is parallel to the short edge of the back side of our mat. Using our hands, placing them on the outside of the bolster, we'll do a gentle twist. And exhaling, we'll lower ourselves slowly down onto our gear. Placing that right cheek onto the bolster. Making any small movements or adjustments you need to get as comfortable as you can. Noticing any tension you may be holding on to in your body, and imagining letting go of that tension, relaxing the body just 10% more. And as you settle into yourself, into your body, I'll leave you in silence for the next few minutes before I bring us back. using the hands. Slowly press yourself off of the bolster. We'll come onto our sit bones or our butts. Our feet flat on the floor, hands at our sides with our fingers facing towards our butts or glutes. Like drop our knees from side to side here. And that windshield wiper motion. And keeping the bolster where it is. We place our low back against the lower edge of the bolster. Our feet are extended long in front of us. We can gently lower ourselves down onto our bolster. Our arms can come to rest at the sides here. Resting into this goddess pose. And this will be our final resting pose for the next few minutes. Be allowing the toes to fall off to the sides. Grabbing a blanket if it's cold, and maybe placing a blanket over the body. And in this pose, if you begin to feel any tingling or numbness sensation, just remove the bolster and the blocks or any gear. Just come onto your back into a full shavasana. Or another variation is to stack some pillows or some blankets underneath the arms to raise the arms up just a little bit. Doing a silent body scan of your body, starting at the head and moving your way down to the toes. I'll leave you in silence for the next few minutes before I bring us back to close our practice. Slowly begin to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. Making any small movements in the body. Bring yourself back to this moment. Placing our hands against the mat. Slowly and gently. We'll press ourselves up. Coming into a seated position. We can cross our legs. Keeping the eyes closed if you'd like, or at a soft gaze. We'll bring the hands together, the palms touching and thumbs at the center of our chest. Taking a moment of gratitude for yourself, for coming to class today, for showing up for yourself. Whether you're tuning in live or watching this again. Just taking that moment of gratitude for that self-care. Can drop our chins towards our chest, bowing to one another in gratitude and respect for showing up to class today. Slowly open the eyes and drop the hands. Well, that was week 8. I hope you all are very relaxed. This week's journal prompts, I kind of talked about it at the beginning of class, is what does that self-care look like for me? How do I hold, or not self-care, how do I hold space for myself? It's a really odd question, but explore it, see what comes up. Well, how do I hold space for myself? What does that look like? Monday's class will be a support class, support and strength. The next week will be week 9. That next week, we're going to do 75, but I'm going to probably up it to 80. So next week, we're going to work on that strength and support. Be at about an hour and 15 class. We've been slowly building up over the course of the last 8 weeks. So Monday at 5:30 Mountain Standard Time, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time.